Okay, now you can start. It's
So
recording.
basically our task is to migrate security screens which we saw yesterday is currently this is implemented for ACE. Okay, and the name of the solution is AceNet. This solution currently is only on-premise. So this solution is about migrating an on-premise solution into Azure, into the cloud. So today, security screens has got two parts. One is the UI, the second one is an engine. UI is just a pretty face, pretty forms and stuff. Okay, engine is where the actual business logic is, right? So security screens today, using the UI, it submits to the engine. And what does it submit? It submits information like you have first name, last name of the user,
Okay.
and whatever you saw on the profile field. If you remember, that screen had got,
Login information, you mean? Or
what do you mean login information?
about regarding the user, whoever logs in, all the information?
No, this is completely different. So
Okay.
if you remember, that screen had got 3 or 4 tabs.
Yes.
Okay, first one was a profile tab, second one was the permissions tab, and then there was some sort of confirmation tab,
Okay.
right? So who would see this? I, as an administrator, when I'm going to security screens, I will see, and when I want to add a new user, I see profile tab, I see a form, and in that form I have a profile tab, permissions tab, confirmation tab. Profile tab has got things like the first name
User
of the
information.
user information, last name. So these are pretty looking forms. Then there is a next button right here. Okay,
Yes.
when you hit next button, it goes,
Goes
to
to
permissions tab.
permissions.
And in permissions, you have the
Depends
list
on-
of
Yes.
capabilities, and so on and so forth. Right. So when you hit next, it goes to confirmation, and when you hit final submit, that information is submitted to an
Engine.
Okay, and that engine is FIM. This is where all the business logic is. Okay, so in other words, security screen is just a pretty UI, providing a user interface to the actual engine that is taking that information and doing something with it. Okay, so this we need to implement a similar thing for in Azure as well. So the UI element, I think, would become the Azure web role.
Okay.
Okay, as the name suggests, this is just web. Web is what? Web pages. Okay, which basically provides UI.
UI user.
Okay, my understanding is this becomes a web role. Okay, and now as this is engine is the one which is actually working, right? So that becomes an Azure worker
Okay.
process.
Okay.
Okay, so in other words, the pretty UI, we would translate that into whatever it takes to create a web role. The engine, the business logic that we have here, that we will move or migrate into a worker process, right? So this is the scope of the project, right? Now there are situations wherein UI and engine, they need to, let's say, they need to sync with each other. Okay, or there is a situation wherein if there are two worker processes, let's say, this engine is a huge engine, right? It's possible that
It
you
might have
need
more than one
more
work
than
process.
worker processes,
Okay.
right? So in that case, those two worker processes, they need to be synchronized. One saying, hey, I'm doing this, the other one saying, hey, I'm doing this, right? To synchronize two worker processes, you need a queue.
Okay, that's where comes the storage queue, Azure's
Correct.
storage queue.
That's where you need a queue.
Okay.
So what does that mean? That means that when a security screen is submitting, again, this is my understanding, and I am not an expert. That's why I need you guys to help. To my understanding, security screens may need to submit to a queue, saying that, hey, this guy needs to be created. You know what a queue is? Queue
Yes.
is a line, right?
Yes.
Okay, and basically So things get added to the queue from one and they get removed from the queue.
Yes.
Okay, so that determines the order.
First
So
come,
you-
first serve.
First, exactly. You have a FIFO,
Yes.
first come, first come, first serve,
Yeah.
first in, first out.
Out.
Right? So here, somebody submits an item, a work item, somebody else removes the work item, processes it, and then gets out.
Okay. So engine is being replaced by a queue.
By a combination of queue
Queue.
and worker processes.
Okay.
Okay, and again, this is my understanding. I need you guys to look into that, right? So that is why you need a queue, and then potentially, like I said, you might need 2 additional, maybe more worker processes, workers, okay, which are basically going to look at this queue, take the item from the queue, and look at it. Okay, oh, this guy needs to be created. I'm going to
Execute. Okay.
execute it, and then after I execute, somehow somebody needs to be maybe notified or something. I don't know how. Currently, the way security screen does is it just submits it, and in the confirmation tab, it says, we have received your request, we will process it and get back to you.
Okay.
Okay, so potentially this worker needs to take it off this queue, right? Process that user, and maybe notify
To the
person,
UI.
right? Either by sending out an email or something like that, right? So that's the complete scope.
Okay.
Okay, that's why I've asked you to look at worker
The-
role, queues, and this one.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the entire context. That's how they fit together. Now, when you start reading up things, hopefully this will clarify what it is supposed to do.
Okay. So at this point we're working on security screens.
Yes, we are
Okay.
working on
The next step.
Correct.
For-
The next steps
okay.
is basically, remember our solution, entitlements based external and corporate access. Okay, so, and we were talking about a table, move this side, we were talking about a table, right? So here we have, so what will this workers do? Okay, it's going to take information from the security screen. From here, okay, person is going to say, I want to give this user these permissions. So that comes in as a request into the queue. Okay, and then the worker takes that request
And process it.
and basically adds those permissions into this table,
Okay.
right? So that when this guy is ready for authentication, this column is already pre-filled,
Okay.
right? So the information that this guy wanted,
They process it and they'll store in the
store
table.
it, exactly.
Okay.
And then ADFS during authentication is going to pull it from there and pass on.
Give the.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So essentially, these are, when it comes to entitlements, okay, entitlements have got 3 parts. Definition of entitlements, how you define it. Second part is distribution of entitlements. And the third part is, well, not distribution, let's say assignment. Okay, and the final part is consumption. Definition, assignment, consumption. Definition is, this is where you're saying that basically on the permission screen, you see the list of capabilities. Okay, that's where you are defining, hey, which application falls under which capability. So that's a different part. Once we get down this, once we are done with this phase, we will start looking at the definition.
Okay.
Okay, so right now we are into an R&D phase, okay, wherein we are trying to understand how to put these components together, right? And once we do that, then we will be able to, then would be definition. Assignment is this screen, and we'll come to this in a bit. Yesterday, we looked at consumption. Okay, consumption means how ADFS can pull this information and send it to the application so they can consume.
Okay.
Right? So this we have a good handle on. Remember, we are in R&D. Okay, we are trying to figure out how to make this work. So consumption we have a good understanding of. right? Wherein we created an attribute store, and it knows where to go get the data from and pass it on.
Okay.
That we are good on. Now we are trying to figure out the definition and
the
assignment. Okay, for the definition and assignment, we got to have a good understanding on how a web role works with the worker processes and how we can leverage queues.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I wanted you guys to look into. Right? So,
Okay.
now, close it.
Thank you.